Charis featuring at the start of this video. So I want you to imagine that you're sitting in the other chair and I'm going to tell you about the experience in making the last video. This is the one where I went to Mundane and went to the church. So if you can, just arranging my coffee cup and things so it's an easier order. So how often do you hear a story of, we call it the mundane, the things we have to do in this reality, such as going shopping, going to the grocery store? How often would you say that that is a very mundane, a very sort of going through the motions experience, something you don't really want to do, but have to do? Well, that's one way of looking at it, of course. But in the making of the last video, essentially that is what it really was. It was going to the grocery store to get supplies for the cats and for myself. But I thought I'd make it a little bit more interesting, because I wanted to go to the church and show you what's on display there. And then obviously still had the shopping to do. This is where the magic for you to find really unfolds. So for a change, while it's rather warm, I have had the use of a moped, so there's no been pushing a bike and taking an hour and a half to get to the store. And then from there I walked uphill into the centre of Mundane, into the church, and did the recording. And then I walked back to the grocery store. Very much the corporate world. It's rather noisy there to film, so that's why I'm not actually filming that there, but I may show it in a future video. But if you can imagine your normal sort of corporate rectangular box building, and slightly to one side on the frontage is a sort of like a rectangular cube sort of section with seating in it, which is part of the cafe, and there is seating outside. So what I generally do, especially if I'm pushing a push bike up the hill and then cycling part of the way, when I get there I'll go and get a couple of pain au chocolat from the bakery and a coffee. They do a very nice coffee, it's only €1. And I'll sit there, and it's developing into a sort of a spontaneous gathering of people. Often you get clusters of Germans and clusters of English-speaking people there. So upon return from the church, one thing I must tell you about, little things please me. So I don't know if you remember, I told you about this, I bought this sort of light, if we can get it in the picture. It's solar powered, and it's got a motion sensor on it, and it puts out quite a bright white light. So I didn't really want to get exactly the same, which that turned out to be the last one of that particular type or brand. So what I actually got, slightly dearer, was this one. LED lights, solar powered, but it's got more settings on it. I can have it as a motion sensor, so it stays on for a few seconds and goes off again. I could have it on like a sort of indoor light, and it would stay on. And of course, you know what LED lights are like, they're really that sort of glaring bright. But I was considering maybe if I get some yellow tissue paper and put over the front of it to sort of make it slightly more ambient. But this has actually got a second setting, so I can have it on at a less intense light. So it's in the background, it lights up the back of this room where there are no windows, so it's rather dark most of the time. I'm going to put this back in to charge up again. One moment. Also, an opportunity for me to clear my throat and cough, and not put that part on video as well. So the light ticks all the boxes. It works well, and I wanted solar power, so I'm not dependent on having to keep buying batteries over and over again, and an unnecessary expense. It's not like we're exactly short of solar power here. This is quite a warm day. It's around about 30 degrees centigrade. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but this afternoon it seems to get around about 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It seems to get very warm. The cats are having a bit of fun there. In their after lunch playful mood. That's Junus and Charis there. Anyway, we'll get back to the story. So I've been to the China shop, bought this light, and has been definitely a wise move to buy that. So I've walked back and I thought we'll have another coffee before we actually go round and do the shopping. Hold on. Right, we'll actually get to the story now. The cats are distracting me there. So I've walked back to the grocery store, and to the right of the sort of covered area of the cafe, there's about 4 tables. Well, all those were occupied. Now, as I approached the store, I did spot a couple. They're obviously giving off a frequency, a good frequency. So as it transpired, after I'd bought my coffee and then went to sit outside, where I would normally sit, where the 4 tables are, they are all fully occupied, not a spare seat available. And that part's in the shade because of the way the sun moves round during the day. So I went out and sat the other side where, there's 4 small tables there, and there was one slot came up where so I was able to sit in the shade next to the couple that energetically I'd spotted earlier. And what a wonderful experience that was, because like-minded souls on very similar frequency, very similar perceptions of this reality. And as I said before, it's not like a formal group. There's nothing organised. It's just purely spontaneous. Whoever happens to be there at the time, which is generally on a Friday during the day, and you get this wonderful interaction. So what actually is happening here? Effectively, if you've got your frequency at the right level, we work like magnets. But the exterior that you see around you will look no different. But as I said before on videos, it's the subsection of people that you encounter that come into your world that you can either choose not to, or you can choose to interact with. And what a wonderful experience. So I was thinking, well, I must get this shopping done. It's been nice chatting. But the lady said, would you like a coffee? And I thought, well, why not? There's no time limit. I'm not in any hurry whatsoever. I can still do the shopping in plenty of time. Well, this lady didn't just buy me a coffee. She actually bought me some lunch as well, a salad roll, and totally unexpected. So you don't have expectations. Expect the unexpected. I thought, what a very lovely, kind gesture. And Then I went shopping, did what I needed to do, and came back, and I was able to look back on that, and what a wonderful experience. I'd done the mundane, the going shopping, getting the supplies. I'd made a video, and I'd had this wonderful interaction with other people. No doubt I'll probably see them or other similar people with the same sort of frequency on the next visit that I go there, which will probably be Friday. I may go beforehand, but there's no real need. But this sort of emphasizes the whole thing with perception. If you look at anything with a negative viewpoint, you therefore have got that feeling of negativity about something. So you can just flip the polarity on it. It's still the same activity that you're going to take part in. But because you're with this sort of childlike wonder, not with any expectations of how things are going to go, but just letting it unfold. And even the journey there, it's a dirt track, so because it's so dry and hot, it's a bit like sand dunes, and just driving along at 20 kilometres on this moped, or 15 miles an hour, I felt the bike, it could have gone from under me, because it's such such a fine surface to be riding over on two wheels. But before even that happened, something in the mind said, take it slow, take it steady. Which I generally do anyway, because one, I'm not in any hurry. Two, I'm appreciating the scenery. I'm just enjoying being in the moment, feeling it's a warm breeze, but feeling this lovely breeze, which I much prefer than a cold breeze anyway. And the way that whole day just went from there, by adopting that feeling and holding that feeling inside yourself, you can hear Ken Wheeler on his channel Theora Apophasis often talk about electricity and magnetism. So the dielectric, the potential, that's something inside us. And of course we're magnetic beings, so we're also, as much as we're generating the feeling, what we're sending out is then, just like the magnetism, the external side is drawing the same back, the path of least resistance. So you end up having these wonderful encounters rather than just some dreadful shopping trip. So I thought I'd share that. I feel that's a valuable blueprint to anything you do, be it going to pay a utility bill or whatever it is, things that you don't really want to do, but have to be done in the shall we call it, the mundane functions of this reality. So I thought I'd share that. And there was something else. Oh yes, I was listening to Lana A LaBonte last night in her live stream. Well worth watching. You can find it on her channel. I'll put the link in the description to the actual video. What else was it? That was leading somewhere. Yes, she mentions about the Bible being a guidebook. Now, I'm sure that many of you are well aware of the controversy and such like over women priests, for example. Well, I happened to listen last night to Brian Scott's channel. It's a lecture given by Dr. Joseph Murphy. And I would recommend listening to that. You could take it as the Adam and the Eve story. You could take it from Paul's letters, 1 Corinthians chapter 14, I seem to remember. where it talks about the woman being under the control of the husband. But that is total mistranslation, as Dr. Joseph Murphy explains. The Bible, you can totally separate it, take it away from any religion, and approach it from the perspective of its human psyche. So what the husband represents is our conscious mind that goes outward into the world. The divine feminine, or the female, be it Eve or just a woman that's not actually mentioned by name, that actually represents your subconscious. It's nothing to do with the external world. It's just written in a language, but unfortunately, like everything else, it has been taken literally in this material world, and you can see the disastrous outplay that comes from that in all shapes and forms right across history. But again, it comes down to perspectives, it comes down to how you approach these things. So I thought I'd add that in because it sort of reiterates exactly the same thing with something as ordinary and as mundane as going shopping. But what a pleasant experience it can be, and the journey coming back. I love, you've seen it on a couple of videos, I don't know how well it shows, but when I'm up the top of the hill and then coming back down this way, you've got this lovely view out to across Portimao, out to sea in the distance, and it's incredible to think that North Africa actually is not that far away. You can't actually see it, and it's not quite the right angle to see it, but it's being in the moment and enjoying the moment rather than this, I've got to get here by this certain time, and importing all that stress into your life. So I would recommend adopting this sort of blueprint. Next time you have to go shopping, for example, make it fun. Make it a pleasurable experience. And then you'll see the magic unfold. As much as anything else, because you're on a higher vibration, a more positive vibration, you're actually going to radiate out that energy, and that is why you have this interaction with people that are on a very similar thought wave. That's another very good lecture by Dr. Joseph Murphy on the Brian Scott channel. You can find actually both these Dr. Joseph Murphy lectures are in a playlist on this channel called Dr. Joseph Murphy. So I won't put a link in the description for that. I shall just say go and check the playlist section of this channel, and you can find that for yourself. And there's some other very good lectures. If I remember rightly, there's even some in Dr. Joseph Murphy's own voice. And if you are one of these people that loves the Irish accent, I feel that you won't be disappointed to hear things said by Dr. Joseph Murphy himself in these recordings. So that's the sort of topic of the video, just basically perspectives. Things aren't any different, it's just your perspective and how you feel about things is going to be very different. And through that, the outcome, the enjoyment of the activity becomes so much more. So I thought I'd share the experience, give you a testimony of what it was, how the day went, and I feel it's something worth sharing. And let me know in the comments if you can try this for yourself. What is your results of this? How did it go for you? And such like. And of course, if you're struggling with life, don't forget I offer DAPPER, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, paranoia, energetically resolved, because the conscious mind will see everything as a problem and try and solve it, but this is re-solving it. We're adding a array of light to the perceived situation and letting things unfold purely by generating out the energy from our feeling inside ourselves and see what it attracts towards you. With that, you're not going to go far wrong. And of course, let's talk about 2040 as a closing note on this. Are you going to see an apocalypse, or are you going to see an epoch collapse? Are you going to view it as something dreadful, or are you going to view it as the end of a chapter, the start of something new? Follows the same blueprint as going to the grocery store. Do you see it as something negative? Do you see it as something positive? Because if you are holding the feeling that it is something positive, then I feel that is just one, my account of going to Mundane is just one example of how the same situation has now played out in a far more pleasurable and wonderful way. And I would say that is just a practice run for 2040 for this Phoenix event, and plenty of time, 15 years or so, in which to build upon this and make this a practice to such a degree that it becomes second nature. You won't go far wrong by doing that. So I hope that has uplifted you. I hope that has inspired you. And like I said, do let me know in the comments the results of, if you choose to do this, how it's worked out for you. I'd love to hear all your stories about it. There'll be personal testimonies, and they will build up a wonderful sort of portfolio of examples that I could refer to and say, well, look at the comment that I've got under this video. This is somebody else's testimony that is backing up the same thing. So that is it for this video. I hope that has inspired you, and it just leaves, as always, for me to say unconditional love to you all.